All right, guys, what's going down, man? This is your boy, DJ Just J with Just Dimes ENT, your humble host of The Soto, you dig. Guys, I'd like to welcome you guys here to the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in so early on this Sunday, which is August the 12th, 2 days after my birthday. So if you guys got a chance to, kick it with us on my birthday, I definitely appreciate you guys coming through. And now we are looking forward to getting straight to business this week, and we have some very, very powerful stories for you guys. And what we're going to do is we're going to illustrate some things here, definitely within the last little portion of this month, about some very, very important things that pertain to our community, pertain to our men, our young men, and definitely the direction that we're going forward. So if you guys would, when you guys come in, do me a favor, as always, hit that thumbs up. It is the very easiest and freest form of being able to support the show. It lets other people know that we are live so that they can join us on the live show. If you guys want to show some monetary support, as always, we have available a few options. That is paypal.me/DJJustJOK, as well as Patreon, as well as Venmo. If you guys want to hit those links, I promise you they are extremely helpful. If you donate anything more than $4 and above, it is a great, huge appreciation and blessing to the show. So without any further ado, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and introduce a very special person. I'd like to call this brother a friend, definitely a good brother, talented brother, and all of that good stuff. My brother, Jimmy Lawson, is on the line with us. So guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, my brother Jimmy Lawson. How you doing, man?
Good, man. What's going down just today, man? Appreciate you having me, brother, and allowing me to bring some exposure, man, to this phenomenal story that we're going to talk about today.
Brother, it is an absolute honor to have you on the show. I've known you for a lot of years, man. We are, John Marshall Bear alumni and all that good stuff, man. So that's a very, very important thing to me, because like I say, when I was coming up, right before I hit high school, I got a chance to watch you guys. So, just to be able to interact with you, man, is a privilege.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you allowing me to come on, man, and be part of the John Marshall family. And we're going to talk about somebody that's part of that John Marshall family, man, that is in a position where he's been blessed and fortunate, man, to have his story told. But today's motive is allowing some of your viewers that may not have heard of this particular case, man. We're going to talk a little bit about that and allow them to dive in and see what we're talking about.
Good deal. That sounds good. So what I'm going to do, guys, is without any ado really at all, I'm going to show you guys a quick clip if you guys are not familiar with this story, which I've heard that some of you are not. So I'm going to partially introduce this. I'm going to read you guys a little bit of this story and how we get up to the point that where we are now. And then we're going to go ahead and let my brother Jimmy speak his piece about everything that's kind of going on, kind of what you've been through and all of that kind of good stuff. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and give the fair usage on the screen if I can get it to show up. And before I show this video, I have to give the fair usage so that we do not get in any legal trouble. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. All right, so here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show them the trailer. They haven't gotten a chance to see this yet for some of the people, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the conversation.
Cool.
Hey, it's Viola here. I'm the executive producer of a new docuseries called The Last Defense. Come with me on a gripping journey where you get to examine the evidence that put 2 people on death row.
A bizarre development in the stabbing deaths of 2 young boys. Officials have now charged their mother with the murders.
I didn't murder my children.
19-year-old Julius Jones. The primary charge, murder in the first.
Killed a totally innocent person. So it was a crime that richly deserves the death penalty.
It's about bringing social consciousness to what can happen to folks when they get incarcerated and could potentially be incarcerated for the wrong thing.
The docuseries is important so people can understand that it is not always fair.
She was sent to death row for a crime that I believe she did not commit.
There are stories that need to be told because they're stories that affect real people, real families.
It wakes people up. It gives a face a heart and image of those people that we have dehumanized in the past.
We just felt we needed to have another look-see inside of both of these cases.
There are enough holes in this case to drive a truck through.
I think in the way that you're going to see it on our show is a little bit different. It digs a little deeper.
I've become obsessed with trying to find out what was going on that night. Obsessed.
It's really important to have the public take a look in and draw their own conclusions.
It's not too late because Darlie's not dead.
Now it's your job to say and to do whatever you will with it.
All right, good deal, man. Shout out to ABC. And again, we are using this by way of fair usage. And they kind of alluded to a couple of additional stories in there. The one that we are going to be primarily focused on is the Julius Jones story. So if you don't mind, Brother Jimmy Lawson, I want to kind of give them a little bit of a background if you don't mind.
Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
All right, let's get it. So Julius Jones was 19 years old and was a star athlete who ran around with the wrong crowd and then was fingered for murdering an upper-class white man whose name was Paul Howell in a carjacking gone wrong. But ABC's new docuseries called The Last Defense has over the past 3 weeks been re-examining the case and tearing holes in the prosecution's case with one valid question after another, including how racism played out in this case. Now, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals is going to take another look at the case, and Jones' lawyer is crediting The Last Defense for bringing national attention to racism in the criminal justice system. So the show originally aired at 10 p.m. on ABC, which was a 7-part series. Guys, I'm telling you, yes, we are live. Look, do me a favor and just, yes, we are live. Okay? Now, let's keep going. Now, it was aired on ABC, and if you guys haven't got an opportunity to check that out, it's kind of long. So I promise you guys, you will not regret watching it all the way through when you have some time to sit and just watch it all the way through. It is very well worth it. So let's keep going. Now, while putting together the program on Julius Jones, one of the executive producers communicated with one of the jurors on the case who alleged another juror used the quote-unquote N-word in talking about the Julius Jones case after the first break in the trial, saying, well, they should just take this N-I-G-G, whatever it was that he referred him to, out back, shoot him and bury him under the jail. It was something that the lawyers for Jones found in their investigation. So what The Last Defense did was bring the issue of racism in the criminal justice system to the forefront, and also this case to national attention. And I think that people are paying attention to that, said Dale Bache, one of the lawyers for Julius Jones. Now, during our investigation, we learned the juror used this N-word, and we asked the Court of Criminal Appeals to look at the issue. So initially, it was said no one took it. It said no on a technicality. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. It said no on a technicality. Asked the court to reconsider that decision, and now it's looking at the merits of that issue, said Batch. If it finds merit in the issue, the court could do one of three things. So number one, it could find that Julius's constitutional rights were violated and he is entitled to a new trial. And it could say that the evidentiary hearing is needed, or it could dismiss it altogether, which is, like I said, we're hoping for a lot of this stuff to culminate. Okay. So in its first season, The Last Defense has taken another look at the two cases of inmates sitting on death row who may have not committed the murders they were charged with. Oh, wait a minute. No, we don't need that one. We just need Julius's case. So let me skip through some of this. Let me get to the other portion. Now, so Julius is now age 37, and he sits on death row in Oklahoma as of right now. So each day for the past 19 years, Jones moves closer to being executed for a murder many believe he did not commit. Now, a key piece of evidence that was never tested before could give Jones a shot at freedom. So they quote this: "We think Julius was wrongfully convicted and that Oklahoma is at risk of executing an innocent man, which was said by attorney Amanda Bass, who told that to Nightline. So Jones was 19 years old when he was arrested at the time, and prison seemed like an unlikely place for him to be found. So it was just an ordinary night, Jones said. Really didn't have any idea how my life could change, is what he said. So he was a champion high school basketball player and was beloved by his teachers and a star student. And again, one of the brothers that was one of his teammates on that team, who I'm familiar with, is my brother Jimmy Lawson, who's on with us right now. And we're going to get an opportunity to let him kind of speak his piece on this. So he also quotes this. He said, we were the only two African-American males to graduate in the top 10% of our class, said Jones, who was a friend of Jimmy Lawson. Julius attended the University of Oklahoma on an academic scholarship as well, which was big time. Jones' case is a focus on a new ABC docuseries called The Last Defense from Oscar-winning actress turned executive producer Viola Davis. So shout out to her. The Last Defense airs Tuesday, July 24th. It's already aired, so like I say, you guys can actually check that out on ABC at any point in time. It's very well worth it. So Jones now has a new legal team composed of Bass and Dale Bache. His story begins on the summer of 1999 when gunshots rang out in a quiet neighborhood in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is a wealthy suburb of Oklahoma City. Paul Howell, who was age 45, had been shot and killed during a carjacking of his GMC Suburban. Okay? Jones' attorneys said that 2 shell casings were found at the scene, and the victim's sister, whose name is Megan Toby, was one of the only eyewitnesses. So Megan Toby described the shooter as a young black male wearing a red bandana and a white shirt and a stocking cap or a skull cap. And she was not able to identify the shooter's face, but because it was covered, Bass said. So 2 days after the shooting, Jones' attorneys said police found Howell's car parked at a grocery store on the south side of Oklahoma City. The store was just a few blocks away from a chop shop, a quote-unquote chop shop for people that are not familiar, which is when people get their cars jacked and people take these cars there in order to exchange them for cash, while these quote-unquote shops, these not so reputable shops, take the cars, strip them down, and either use the parts or sell the parts. That's a chop shop. All right, let's keep going. So they learned police learned that Liddell King had offered to sell the Suburban. So he told police on the night of the crime that a guy named Chris Jordan comes to his apartment. Bache told Nightline. And a few minutes later, according to Liddell King, Julius Jones drives up. King was well known to the local police, according to retired Edmond police detective Dennis Dill, who said King was involved in car thefts all around the metro area. He had been doing that for years. So Jordan and Jones were high school acquaintances, and Jordan was a suspected gang member, and Jones by then was a college student, had recently been in some trouble of his own. And they quote this: "My first year at school, being young, just wanting to have money, I got into shoplifting," Julius Jones said. He said, "I stole pagers and I stole things that I could sell. Wrong is wrong. I shouldn't have done it, and I'm not trying to hide it from anybody that I have broken the law. I have. But just because I broke the law does not make me a murderer," which is what Julius Jones said. So during King's interrogation, he told detectives that the two men had asked him to help them sell a stolen Suburban. He quotes this: I'm just a middleman relaying a message from this guy to that guy," which is what King told police. But King said he told them that the attention around the Howell case made it too risky to sell the car for parts. When he went home, King had later told detectives he turned on the local news and saw the story about the killing that included a photo of Howell's Suburban, and he said that car is what Julius got out of, King told police. "I seen Julius driving the gold Suburban," King said during the interrogation. "I remember something about him. He had a red bandana around his neck and he had on a stocking cap." And King also accused Jordan of being the driver. So there's a lot more to this story, and let's take a pause real quick. My brother Jimmy Lawson, do you want to speak on what the people have heard so far, or what do you want to kind of add based on what we've spoken on already?
Yeah, back in that time, and the culture of Oklahoma City and Edmond was very different than what it is now. It's very diverse now. Back in that time, there was a lot of racial segregation, if you will. We being African American males, we didn't hang out in Edmond a lot, just because of the environment. So, in that time frame when you heard possibly a African American male that may have quote unquote, killed a white male, in Oklahoma City and Edmond, it brought a different criteria, to the judicial system. So, Julius being my best friend back then, he was in that era where, Bob Mason being the AD during that period of time, he was all about trying to convict whoever he can convict. So, we are thankful that ABC picked up the story, man. It's brought some awareness about his case. Over the past 15 to 16 years, Julius has tried a lot of different avenues to, bring the truth about his case and all the details that went behind it. And we're blessed and fortunate. The Jones family is blessed and fortunate, man, to get this opportunity to have Julius's story not only told locally, man, but told on a national level. And, the love and support since it's aired on July 10th, July 17th, and July 24th, which is a 3-part series. By the time we got to July 24th, the standpoint of people's opinion about, man, Julius Jones really didn't do this. A lot of people here locally knew that, but now that his story's been told nationally, it's brought that support level to a whole different level, man. And now, because of national coverage, it's putting a little bit more pressure, on our local authorities, man. So that's the name of the game, is to try to get as many people in his corner to get him out. I personally did a rally here in Oklahoma City on his behalf last week on July 31st. We had Channel 5, Channel 4, Channel 25, all the local news channels come out, man. Took me about a week to put it together. We had like over 400 people show up live, so the love and support was crazy. Right. We sold out of free Julius Jones T-shirts in about 15 minutes, man, and that's a tribute to the support he's gotten, and specifically to his John Marshall High School family. A lot of those people were people as part of our era and went to John Marshall High School, man. So the family is very thankful, kind of what's been going on and support, man. So we're just going to try to take this momentum, and allow the Court of Appeals to do what they're supposed to do and do the right thing and let Julius out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I thought that was amazing. The fact that you spearheaded that. And I know sometimes, man, when you're going through life and you don't know, what you're going to end up doing, and then you get to a moment like this where I'm like, hey, I have an opportunity to do something really big here. Not only, from a personal standpoint, but to, in support of a friend, you know what I'm saying? And I remember, I was hoping that I would have got an opportunity to come down there and be at the rally, but I did get a chance to watch the live video of it, man. And it was incredible, the amount of people that I saw that showed up to support that.
Right. It was one of the deals that, everybody was pumped up and rallied up about, the show, and we wanted to keep or find a way to keep that momentum going. And, we allowed ourselves to meet the right people here locally, man, to expose that on TV and on the internet and stuff. So, we probably had like over 5,600 viewers online live from the rally, man. So that was awesome. You got people from Australia, Switzerland, Europe that's diving in, man, and really showing their support for Julius Jones, man. And, the most important thing for me, being his best friend, man, is that he's hopeful that now he's kind of satisfied that he's got his story told, because for so many years he didn't have an avenue, to tell that story. So thank God for ABC coming in, man, and taking a chance on this case and providing him a voice, on a national level.
Absolutely. And just to kind of give a little bit more about this story so people understand. And again, guys, we appreciate you guys being here. When you get a chance, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up so other people can know that we are live. Somebody asked how old Julius is. He's 37, I believe. Isn't that correct?
He's 38 now.
Oh, okay. I thought he was a little bit closer to my age because I just turned 35, and I thought we were a little bit closer in age. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he turned 38 last week, a couple weeks ago.
Okay, got you. Now this is where we're at with the article that I pulled up from abcnews.go.com, which you guys can also find the Julius Jones story, and I think that you can go to video or shows if I'm not mistaken. You guys can look up this story. So at this point, Jordan was arrested and charged with felony murder, claiming he and Julius Jones were out looking for Suburbans to steal, but said it was Jones who pulled the trigger when they carjacked Howell. And Jones has long maintained he has never killed Howell. Now, these people set me up to take the fall because they knew somebody was going to fry for this, which is what Jones said. And that's a terminology for the electric chair, meaning, be put to death behind, this. It's a lot going on here. Like I say, for people that are not, familiar with Oklahoma and how things are, it's still, especially at the time, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Brother Jimmy, is that when it comes to race, there especially at that time, it was still quite a bit tense. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah. In Oklahoma, man, it's a very dynamic system, especially judicially. That whether you white or black or Hispanic or Asian, it doesn't matter. Oklahoma City, has a foundation that's just a little different than other cities. So, the culture back then, again, I like to hammer about what it was like back then because the judicial system was all about, doing deals and doing things. They didn't use a lot of DNA type stuff back then. They didn't use a lot of hard evidence type stuff. So Julius's case is really unique because, at the beginning from the get-go, the law enforcement didn't have a lot of evidence from the get-go. So it was a lot of circumstantial. There was a lot of what we call statement type base evidence. So, they rushed it really, really quickly. The storyline behind it at that time is that they never really gave a chance. As you see in the show, I don't want to give a lot of details. I want y'all to go watch The Last Defense because this is going to break down all those questions all your viewers kind of have going on right now about the case and some of the evidence and how did he get convicted and all the other details. So I inspire y'all to go check it out. It's worth your time. Each episode is an hour. So I don't want to give out too much detail if you have not seen the show for yourself. So go check it out, and that'll give you a better idea kind of all the foundational issues and different type stuff that's going on with his case. But it's really unique, man. It's really inspiring to have an opportunity to look at my friend and have his voice and his story told, man. So, we're hoping the best for that. And he's got a couple things going on that's in his favor in the judicial process. So we're sitting back waiting and see what the Court of Appeal say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even with me reading what I'm reading right now, guys, I promise you, this is really only chipping, the tip of the iceberg. Like, seriously, because I got a little bit more I want to tell you guys about this kind of leading up to why you should also, to add in addition to what my brother Jimmy said. So here we go. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit more of this. So both Liddell King and Christopher Jordan were directing the police's attention to the home of Julius Jones' parents as a place where they would have incriminating items of evidence, Amanda Bass said, which is his current attorney. Chris Jordan was in the back of the police vehicle talking to detectives who were telling people inside the home where to potentially look. Inside Jones' parents' home, police found a gun wrapped in a red bandana tucked inside an upstairs crawl space. Julius Jones' attorney said the evidence police found could have been planted by Jordan the night after the murder. They say Chris Jordan told police during the interrogation that the next day after the killing, he had spent the night at Julius' parents' home, said Bass. The night that Jordan stayed over, Jones said Jordan had told him he was locked out of his grandmother's house and needed a place to crash. He never spent the night before that, Julius Jones said. So he says this: Julius slept on the couch downstairs, on the downstairs couch. Meanwhile, Chris slept in the upstairs bedroom. Bass said, The bedroom is where the police found the gun and the bandana. Jordan denied this during the trial, which is another really big point. Investigators built up a case against Jones using his statements from King and Jordan, as well as the gun and the bandana being found inside his home. So Jones was arrested and charged with capital murder. So let me see. How much more of this do I want to give you guys? I'm going to go ahead and read the last little bit of this because, like I said, I think it's pertinent, but I still think that they can get a lot from watching this story if you don't mind it. You got a moment I can do that?
Yeah. It's all good.
Got you. So shortly after Jones' arrest, the late prosecutor Bob Macy held a press conference announcing he would be seeking the death penalty. The prosecutor in this case, Macy, had been responsible for sending 54 people to death row. Half of those convictions were overturned later. I'm going to say that again. Half of those convictions, half of those 54 were overturned later, said Vanessa Potkin, one of the executive producers of The Last Defense and an attorney with the Innocence Project, which is pretty cool. Jimmy, I'm going to say this real quick. I've been telling you guys about the Innocence Project, how they come out, and I was curious about that because I didn't know if you guys had gotten an opportunity to speak with them, because I know this is a lot of what they do, trying to re-examine cases and present new evidence and get people that were potentially innocent off of out of the system when they might not have had an opportunity and been tried fairly. And so I thought that was really important. I didn't know that they were involved in this. So, and
yeah, a lot of different third parties have been reached out to over the past 10 years. Innocent Project being one of those. It's a lengthy process for some of those third party representation, legal type companies to dive into some of these cases, depending on the severity and the length and all the stuff that goes behind it. So Julius kind of exhausted all of his avenues over the past 10 years of reaching out. Some companies show some interest in it, and some companies didn't. So it's a luck of the draw, man. If you get lucky enough, death row cases are treated very vastly different than regular maybe life with the possibility of parole or something else. The death penalty is a total different ball game, legality wise. So he did, man, and fortunately, the last time that he reached out to a third-party company that tied into another company that had access to some of the Last Defense and ABC team. So that's what gave him some grace, man, and they liked it. The evidence, in the case is what really drove ABC's ability to choose this case over cases. There were a lot of people know there was a long process behind how ABC eventually chose Mr. Jones' case. So it was, 2, 3, 4 years in the making. When you talk about how they went about choosing. So, my standpoint, on the outside looking in and being in the inside, being his best friend, is that, I thank God for giving him the chance to have a story told. And, they're going to give him an opportunity to take a stand. His attorneys, Dale Bache and Amanda Bass, man, they're absolutely phenomenal, very sharp individuals. I've had an opportunity to talk to them in length about the case and the details and the process. And, they feel very hopeful, now with this new exposure that the state of Oklahoma will do the right thing.
Yeah.
And let Julius get out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see. And again, I'm going to say this one more time for the people that didn't hear that. The prosecutor at the time, his name was Bob Macy. He is very famous around Oklahoma for a lot of reasons. We'll put a pin. We'll come back to that. But he had sent 54 people to death row, and half of those convictions were overturned later. And 3 of the people that Macy sent to death row were later exonerated, which is a absolutely just unfathomable point. That's just huge. Now, unfortunately, in our criminal justice system, she continued, the first person to be interrogated and talk to the police who tells the police the story can be the one who gets the deal. At trial, Julius Jones' defense team was inexperienced and overwhelmed. First, the victim's sister said that the killer's hair stuck out an inch from underneath the stocking cap, and Jones' hair was closely cut at the time. Okay? Now, we have a photo of him the week before, and immediately after the arrest, his hair was incredibly short. Attorney and executive producer Ada, Lizenring told Nightline. Unfortunately, his defense team never submitted a photograph of a week prior of Julius Jones. Jordan, meanwhile, wore his hair in cornrows and that stuck out at the sides, Bass said. Jones' lawyers also point out that the jury was not made aware that Liddell King was facing felony charges in an unrelated case until after his damaging testimony against Jones. Liddell King was facing a minimum of 20 years on a check fraud matter because he had 3 strikes, Lizenring said. He was also required to serve at least 20 years, and in fact, it was dismissed entirely. So they had every motive and incentive to lie, and the jury didn't get a chance to hear all of that evidence. So Jones' legal team is convinced. Let me see, where's it at? Jones' legal team is convinced that there is no objective, reliable evidence that points to Jones being the murderer, Lizenring said. So Jones was sentenced to 30 years to life for being Jones' quote-unquote accomplice in this case. He served 15 years and was released from prison in 2014. Jones was convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to death. In a startling plot twist, the last defense recently tracked down one of the original jurors on the case who told them a disturbing story about racial bias and deliberation in the juror room. He said, "I was a juror in the case, and the juror explains during one episode, and this thing has weighed on me for a long time. What happened was several of us from the jury were getting on an elevator. This was well before deliberations, and one of the jurors said, well, they should just take this out back, shoot him, and bury him under the jail. It didn't, and of course they allege at this point. I want to say allege just to make sure that this is. I'm not sure whether this is factual or not, but they refer to him as the N-word, and of course that's huge because that also points towards racial bias. Okay, now and they said it didn't matter what happened. This was a black man that was on trial for murder. He did it. So oh, it's just a little bit more left here. Let me read this last little bit. This juror said that she told the judge about the racial comments the following day, but nothing happened. Recently, an appeals court judge rejected that claim also. Since his conviction, Jones' legal team has filed several motions for appeals. And in October 2016, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to review his appeal, as well as the appeal for 2 other Oklahoma death row inmates, which made Jones eligible for execution when Oklahoma resumes state killings later this year, according to the Oklahoma City-based newspaper, the City Sentinel. Or Sentinel, excuse me, the City Sentinel. Julius Jones' only hope of exoneration is now the argument from his legal team that the red bandana found in his house was never tested for DNA. The district attorney agreed to the DNA testing, which you'll see a little bit more of that in the actual story when you watch it on ABC. They agreed to test the red bandana, and we're hoping that there's some evidence there that can identify who the real shooter was. So let me see. If the results come back and show the DNA profile for Jordan, then it should exonerate Jones, Lizenring said. So justice would be an exoneration, but you can't get back those 20 years, she said. So justice is bittersweet. And I definitely want to speak on that point because of the fact that, like I say, and I said this off air that, a lot of us have done some things that definitely would, potentially make people think of us a little bit different. If all of our lives were examined under the microscope, we've all done some things that, aren't that reputable. You know what I mean? But in this particular case, right is right and wrong is wrong. If he did not do this, which I'm inclined to believe that Julius did not do this, and that he should be vindicated from this, and hopefully that we do not run out of time in this particular case. But I definitely think that number one, going forward, Oklahoma should definitely do a better job when it comes to how they handle evidence and information and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure this, that Oklahoma has always been quite a bit behind a lot of the states when it comes to certain things, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely hope that this goes the way that we feel like it should. But like I said, I think that I want to allow people to make their own judgment when you watch the actual full episodes, the 7 of them from ABC, right?
Yeah, so one of the beauties behind of what's going on for Mr. Jones is that the state of Oklahoma had a couple of botched executions over the past 2.5 years. They had some drugs that, for whatever reason, didn't work out too well on some of those individuals. So they decided to put a stop or a moratorium to any executions in the state of Oklahoma. Why is that important? Because during that time frame when they put a freeze on the death or the actual executions, that's when ABC gave Julius a chance with his story. They were doing all the filming and all that good stuff. So they knew that time was kind of running, but also time was kind of halted at the time because the state governor and other officials knew that they didn't come up with a drug yet. So they weren't going to be killing anybody at the time being, which was a blessing for Julius because on the flip side of that, if they didn't have any botched executions, he could have potentially, had been get killed and didn't have a chance to have the story or the real story and the real facts be told about his case. Or, the Court of Appeals may have decided not to even take a chance of reopening at that time. So it was really a blessing on his behalf that, all this occurrences kind of happened and they stopped executions, which allowed him, some time to get his story told. So we're thankful for that.
Yeah, and I want to thank my moderators. Thank you guys for making sure and what they're doing. Because I don't know if you can see this or not, but they're actually posting the link to The Last Defense, which is on abc.go.com, which is awesome. So thank you, Pan, and anybody else. If you guys would continue to share that link in the chat, and people will also be able to see this on the replay when they get a chance to watch this. But like I said, I think it's very important, and it's something that's absolutely near and dear to my heart. Whenever we do this YouTube thing and we do shows and stuff like that, we obviously, do a lot of things that mean something to us personally. And because of the fact that these are some brothers that I looked up to, definitely were champions at the high school, but champions for the city and just really champions for a cause mentally for guys like me that were coming up behind them to want to accomplish something big and accomplish something special. And I definitely want to make sure that that with this brother being attached to us as John Marshall Bears, we definitely want to make sure that not only is he vindicated, but definitely we want to make sure that justice gets served properly.
Absolutely, man. I got much love and respect for what you're doing, Justin J, man. This is powerful. You're providing a platform for those who may not have heard about The Last Defense and Julius Jones story. I see some people are putting the link to the show. I encourage you got to go check it out for yourself, man, because there's so much stuff that we haven't talked about, on this podcast that is enlisted in the show. So of course we can't talk about everything, but you got to go check it out. Again, it's 3 series, 1 hour each on each series. So go check it out for yourself. Once you get past episode 1, you'll start diving into some of the more details of the case, and by the time you wrap it up, you'll have a good feeling about, whether he is or is he not, guilty. So, we being supporters, we know that the evidence is overwhelmingly in Julius's favor to be exonerated. So again, I can't say enough that y'all got to go check it out. It's called The Last Defense. I think someone told me this on Netflix and Hulu.
Oh, nice.
And of course on the ABC app as well. So as somebody else told me that it was on AT&T Uverse on demand as well, I think. So I think it's out there, man, on plenty of avenues. So y'all go check it out.
And you know what? And that's awesome. And I'm glad the fact that these other platforms are picking this up, because at the end of the day, with all due respect, no matter what happens, and we're definitely hope that it goes in the direction that we want it to go. But I feel like we've done everything that we possibly could to make sure that this brother has a fair shot at this thing. Because like I said, I definitely feel like the system failed him in this case for sure. But even though I've read you guys most of the story about what's going on, that's nothing more than a synopsis, I promise you, because when I had an opportunity to sit down and watch it, I literally was like, I have to keep going. It took me I was busy. It took me 2 days. It took me 2 days. I started watching it that night, and then I was like the next day, as soon as I got settled, I said, I have to finish watching this. not only was it worth it, it's powerful, it's interesting. But again, you know, shout out to ABC, shout out to the Innocence Project, which is amazing, because like I said, I've definitely heard about plenty of stories where they have had some success vindicating people that were actually done unjustly. So big shout out to them.
Yeah, man, no doubt, man. We thank you for allowing me, man, to come on and be on this platform, man, to keep this momentum we got going for Julius. And man, we're not gonna stop it until he gets out and he's exonerated. He's back on the other side of the fence with us, man. You know, again, you can't retract 19 years. He's been locked up for 19 years, man. You know, you and I know that, you know, money can't buy your time back. You know, nothing can buy that time back, man, except, you know, trying to get that time going forward. So our job is to try to get the Court of Appeals and whoever the powers to be, man, to do the right thing and exonerate his case so he can come on home.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I want to thank you again for, you know, because like I said, I know you got a family, you got a life you got to live too, man. And I thank you for taking, you know, the time that we spent on here just to be able to speak with me, to speak your piece about this, and for us to continue for us to even use our platform just to, you know, to spread this message just that much more, man, is very, very important to me. And I want to thank you for your time.
Yes, sir, man. No doubt, man. What you're doing is phenomenal, man. Keep doing what you're doing, being the platform for the public, man, and you're going to be highly blessed for it, bro.
Well, I hope so. But yeah, man, again, man, shout out to my brother Jimmy Lawson, man, for joining us here. And we are, you know, encouraging people to go check out, they're posting the links in the chat, the Julius Jones story, The Last Defense, on abc.com. Please make sure you guys check that out. This is your boy DJ Just Jay. Thank you guys for joining the live show. We might end up doing something a little bit later.